Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping into our virtual detective agency and firing up a vibrant, animated training simulator. We are going to decode the hidden messages people send us every single day. We're diving deep into the fascinating insights from Joe Navarro's book, What Everybody is Saying. So if you've ever wanted to read a room like a seasoned investigator or figure out what a client is really thinking before they even say a single word, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down some incredibly advanced body language techniques using some colorful cartoon characters and graphics to make the complex science of human behavior perfectly clear.
But before we get into the actual mechanics of reading people, we kind of have to talk about why we should even listen to the author Joe Navarro. Well, 20 years. That's how long he spent working as a professional FBI agent. He didn't just learn this stuff in a sterile lab somewhere, you know? He spent over 2 decades out in the field interviewing suspects, observing microexpressions, and reading body language when the stakes were literally life and death. The insights we're about to unpack were forged from real-world interrogations, which gives this material an incredibly high level of credibility. The guy knows exactly how humans physically react under pressure.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our visual detectives checklist for today's training. 1. The art of observation. 2. Establishing the behavioral baseline. 3. Truth is in the toes. 4. Dressing for sales success. And 5. Spotting the fake smile.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the art of observation. This is all about moving from just looking to actually deducing.
You see, but you do not observe. This classic Sherlock Holmes quote perfectly captures the fundamental mindset shift Navarro wants us to internalize right out of the gate. It's all about making that leap from simply looking at the world to actually deducing what is happening within it. It's the absolute foundation of reading body language. It's just not enough to casually watch people. Anyone can see, but to truly understand the unwritten signals buzzing around you, you've got to transition from being a passive viewer to an active investigator.
So seeing is really just passive watching without concentrating, but observing, that is active concentration on meaning. Think about the colorful animated suspect in our simulator right now. They aren't just standing there like a statue. As an observer, you've got to concentrate on the why. Why did they suddenly shift their weight? What does it mean when they cross their arms the exact second a specific topic comes up? You have to constantly ask yourself, oh, he did that. What does that actually mean? You are actively decoding the scene in real time.
Moving right along to Section 2, establishing the behavioral baseline, setting the trap for truth.
Before you can analyze anyone, whether it's a criminal suspect or just a prospective sales client, you desperately need a starting point. You have to set the trap for the truth. A behavioral baseline is simply a person's normal, everyday behavior and physical mannerisms when they are fully relaxed. And this is totally crucial because of context. If someone steps into a job interview or, an interrogation room, they're probably already sweating it. Their heart is beating fast, they're fidgeting. That nervous energy, that is not their normal behavior. If you start analyzing them right away, your data is completely corrupted. You're just reading the stress of the situation, not their actual reaction to your specific questions. So how do we actually establish this baseline? It requires a pretty systematic 3-step process. Step 1. Get the person relaxed. Just make them comfortable. Step 2. Identify their normal behavior. Maybe our animated character has a habitual quirk, like touching their nose a lot because of allergies, or they have a specific, relaxed way of crossing their legs. That's their baseline. Once you map that out, you move to Step 3. Watch for sudden deviations. Now that you know exactly what normal looks like, it becomes incredibly obvious when their facial expression suddenly twitches, or they start doing something really erratic with their hands or legs in response to a hard question. That deviation from the baseline, that's exactly where the truth hides.
Okay, Section 3, Truth is in the toes, the bottom-up approach. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the most surprising FBI secrets about human anatomy. We all naturally assume the face is the most expressive and telling part of the body, right? But Navarro's experience shows the exact opposite. Yes, the face is super expressive, but our conscious control over it is extremely high. It's literally the easiest part of our body to fake. We're trained from childhood to smile when we aren't happy and to politely hide our disappointment. So its actual truthfulness is pretty low. But our legs and feet, our conscious control over those is incredibly low. They're largely driven by our unconscious mind. Therefore, their truthfulness is incredibly high. If you want to know what someone is really feeling, the higher up the body you go, the less truthful the expressions become. You've got to look down to find the honest truth.
Let's pivot a bit for Section 4, dressing for sales success, the disguise and the mindset.
Let's transition from FBI interrogations to everyday life. First off, you must dress for the situation, sure, but also for anyone you might unexpectedly meet. You might think a super casual outfit is fine for a low-key meeting, but what if you bump into your boss or a massive potential client in the hallway? The impression you make matters instantly. More profoundly, though, clothing and grooming are massive indicators of mental health. Being well-groomed is a really strong sign that someone is happy and doing well. Conversely, when people become depressed or distressed, neglecting their dress and grooming, wearing dirty clothes, suddenly stopping shaving, is often the very first outward sign that something is wrong. And from a purely practical standpoint, imagine our colorful cartoon salesman trying to close a massive deal. The author notes the clear difference in confidence and reception when you're wearing nice, clean Hugo Boss chinos and crisp white tennis shoes versus just showing up in broken jeans or messy clothing. Dressing well is quite literally the easiest way to earn more money in sales. Why make the interaction an uphill battle? You definitely don't need a three-piece suit to sell solar panels, but you absolutely do need to look sharp.
And that brings us to Section 5, Spotting the Fake Smile, Unmasking the Face.
For our final detective lesson, we are heading right back up to the face. You see, you cannot simply force a real smile. It has to be authentic. Now, what's really interesting about this is the actual physical mechanics. Look at a genuine smile on our cartoon avatar. The lips start pointing upward, but the absolute dead giveaway is the eyes. They start to narrow from the bottom. The muscles around the eyes genuinely engage. But when someone tries to force a fake smile, they just pull their lips horizontally outwards, and their eyes remain wide open. It looks totally cartoonish and insincere. To project a genuine smile that actually leaves a great impression, you have to make yourself feel good first. The emotion has to precede the expression.
And you know what? The exact same rule applies to negative emotions. You cannot force a real frown. Sure, some people naturally have a resting face where their lips turn down slightly. But for the vast majority of us, you literally cannot consciously force those lip corners to point downwards in a convincing way. Unless someone is truly feeling sad or deeply distressed, the mouth simply won't form a genuine frown. The physical machinery of our face is hardwired directly to our actual emotional state.
So we've walked through our visual detective training. We've learned to actively observe rather than just passively see. We know how to set a behavioral baseline. We know we've got to look at the feet for the unvarnished truth. We understand the deep psychological weight of how we dress. And we know the mechanical difference between a real smile and a fake one. All of which brings us to our final, provocative question. Now that you know exactly what to look for, what is your body saying right now? Are your shoulders totally tense? Are your feet pointing toward the door? Take a second to actively observe yourself. Because the most fascinating mystery you can solve today might just be your own. Catch you next time.